Some people are born with everything, while others have to work for it. In my family, that contrast couldn't be more obvious. While my sister Sophie struts down the hallways of our boutique hotel like she's a celebrity, I spend hours hunched over spreadsheets and financial reports. At 29, I've dedicated half my life to this business my father built from scratch. Today, as I was going over last quarter's numbers, something caught my eye. A bunch of expenses labeled public relations seem off. The amount is huge, over $2 million. My stomach churned as I recognized the pattern behind these transactions. They're Sophie's spending, I'm sure, but I need solid proof before taking this any further. One thing's for sure, this discovery is going to change everything in our family. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this. I grew up watching my father turn a small hotel into a respected chain. William Parker, a man who started from nothing and built an empire with determination and vision. My mom, Catherine, was always his safe haven, but also his biggest supporter when it came to Sophie, my younger sister. Sophie was born when I was 3. Even as a little girl, she charmed everyone with her smile and magnetic personality. While I was helping out at the front desk at 16, she was busy being the family princess. Now, at 26, she's become a digital influencer who uses our hotel chain as the backdrop for her perfectly curated life on social media. Nathan Brooks came into our lives 6 months ago when my dad hired him as a financial consultant. He's different from the other executives. Observant, shrewd, and not easily taken in by Sophie's charm. In the last few weeks, I've noticed him giving worried looks during board meetings. Yesterday, Nathan pulled me aside. "Emily, we need to talk about some irregularities I found," he said, with a serious expression that made me sit down immediately. That's when I began to understand the true magnitude of the problem we're facing. The way my parents run the company has always been more emotional than professional. They see the hotel chain as an extension of our home, where the rules can be flexible and the boundaries blurry. But now, with Nathan's findings, I realized that this mindset might cost us everything my father built. During the meeting with Nathan, every document he showed me hit like a punch to the gut. Corporate cards used for shopping sprees at luxury boutiques, private trips billed as technical visits, extravagant dinners disguised as business events, all under Sophie's name. "Your sister is using the company as her personal bank," Nathan explained, showing me a detailed spreadsheet. In the last 18 months, that's over $2 million in unjustifiable expenses. Sitting in my office after the revelation, I started piecing things together. Sophie's lavish parties, her designer handbags, the non-stop trips to exotic destinations, everything made sense now. While I was burning the midnight oil worrying about cost optimization, she was draining our resources. The worst part is that my parents probably knew. Mom always defended Sophie's expenses as a digital marketing investment. Dad, for his part, never could say no to his little girl. Meanwhile, I had to justify every single cent of my salary in budget meetings. I decided to dig deeper. With Nathan's help, we accessed old records and uncovered an even more disturbing pattern. Sophie had set up an elaborate system to disguise her personal expenses as operating costs. She used specific codes, manipulated descriptions, and even created fake events to justify her spending. "Emily, there's one more thing you need to know," Nathan said hesitantly. "I found documents showing that you are technically the majority shareholder of the company." My heart stopped. Years ago, when I turned 21, my dad had transferred some shares to me as a gift. At the time, I thought it was just a symbolic gesture. Now, those shares represented real power to bring about the necessary changes. "What are you planning to do?" Nathan asked, his voice soft but firm. I looked out the window of my office, watching the hotel activity below. Dedicated employees, some of whom had been here for decades, all depending on the financial health of this company. I couldn't let Sophie's irresponsible behavior put all of that at risk. I needed to talk to my dad before taking any drastic steps. I arranged lunch with him at the hotel restaurant, away from prying family eyes. While waiting for his arrival, I mentally organized all the documents and evidence Nathan had shown me. "Sweetheart, you look worried," he said, sitting down across from me. For a moment, I saw not the successful businessman, but the dad who used to take me around every corner of the hotel when I was little. "Dad, we need to talk about Sophie," I began, keeping my voice steady. I discovered something serious about the company's finances. As I presented the evidence, I watched his expression change. First disbelief, then concern, and finally resignation. He knew. Maybe not the full extent, but he knew. Your sister always had a different lifestyle, he tried to justify. And her work on social media brings visibility to the hotels. $2 million in personal expenses, Dad. That's not marketing. It's embezzlement, I replied, shoving the reports in his direction. And there's more. I just found out I'm the majority shareholder. His face paled. Emily, we're a family. We need to protect each other. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, I argued. If we keep going like this, there won't be a company to protect. The employees who rely on us, the legacy you built, everything is at risk. My dad fell silent for a long while, fiddling with his coffee. Finally, he looked up at me. What do you suggest? Structural changes, clear expense policies, real corporate governance, I listed. And Sophie needs to be held accountable. Your mom isn't going to take that lightly, he warned. I know, but I have no choice, I replied. My birthday party is in 2 weeks. Everyone's going to be there, including the board. I'm planning to make an announcement. He nodded slowly, looking older than ever. You remind me so much of myself at your age, determined to do what's right, no matter the cost. I left that lunch with an even heavier weight on my shoulders, but with the certainty that I was on the right path. The 2 weeks leading up to my birthday party were intense. Nathan and I worked tirelessly, planning every detail of the presentation to the board. We documented every irregular transaction, organized the evidence, and put together a full restructuring plan for the company. During that time, Sophie continued with her normal routine, completely unaware of what was coming. She posted photos on her social media, using the hotel as the backdrop for her life of luxury. The irony wasn't lost on me. Each photo was practically a public confession of those irregular expenses. On the eve of the party, I got a call from my mom. Honey, I have a wonderful surprise for your birthday, she said, barely containing her excitement. Your dad and I decided to transfer your house to Sophie. She needs her own place to create content, and you spend so much time at work. My blood ran cold. The house I bought with my own money, saving for years, was about to be handed over to Sophie. That was the last straw. The night of the party arrived. The hotel's main hall was elegantly decorated, packed with executives, family members, and board members. Nathan stayed quietly by my side, giving me silent strength. I watched Sophie mingling among the guests, filming everything for her social media. My mom called everyone's attention for a special announcement. While she was about to talk about transferring my house, I grabbed the microphone. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began, feeling my heart pounding. As the majority shareholder of this company, I have an important announcement to make. I saw Sophie's eyes go wide. My mom froze. My dad lowered his head, already expecting what was coming next. In the last 2 years, our company has been facing serious financial management issues. Tonight, I'm presenting the board with evidence of over $2 million in irregular personal expenses disguised as corporate costs. The silence in the room was deafening. Nathan began handing out folders with the documents to the board members. As the board chair and majority shareholder, I'm implementing immediate changes in management. Starting today, all expenses will go through strict oversight. New governance policies will be established. And yes, there will be consequences for those responsible for these irregular expenses. Sophie started crying, running over to my mom, who looked at me with a mix of shock and anger. For anyone wondering about the announcement my mom was about to make, no, my house is not being transferred to anyone. It was bought with my own money, unlike some of the irregular luxuries that were banked on the company. I turned to the board members. In the folders you received, you'll find a detailed restructuring plan. I ask that you review and approve these necessary changes to secure the future of our company. The rest of the night was a whirlwind. Some guests left discreetly, while others stayed to discuss the revelations. Sophie disappeared with my mom, while my dad spoke quietly with board members. Nathan squeezed my hand under the table during the emergency meeting that followed. It was only the beginning of a long journey of change, but for the first time, I felt in control of my own destiny. In the days following the party, the storm I'd unleashed showed its true force. The board unanimously approved the proposed changes, but putting them into practice was an even bigger challenge than revealing them. My mom refused to return my calls, only sending me short messages through my dad. Sophie had isolated herself in her penthouse, sharing dramatic stories about family betrayal and sibling envy on her social media. Of course, her followers supported her unconditionally, unaware of the real story. The first week of changes was the toughest. I canceled all non-essential corporate cards, including the 5 different ones Sophie used. I put a new expense approval system in place and started audits in all departments. Nathan proved to be not only an excellent consultant, but also an essential support. While I dealt with family resistance, he coordinated the finance team for the new implementations. In the few breaks we had, he helped me keep sight of the big picture. "You're doing the right thing," he told me over a late coffee. Family businesses often fail precisely because they can't separate business from personal relationships. By the end of the second week, Sophie paid me a surprise visit. She walked into my office without her usual makeup and designer clothes. "You ruined my life," she started, though her voice lacked its usual conviction. "My followers are asking why I'm not posting content from the hotels anymore." "You can keep creating content," I replied calmly, "but as a hired professional, with clear goals and proper pay, not as someone using the company as her personal bank." For the first time ever, I saw Sophie really listen. And how would that work? I pulled up a presentation I had prepared for just this conversation. A detailed plan of how she could legitimately become the digital marketing director of the company, with clear responsibilities and objectives. "You've got talent, Sophie. You always did, but you need to learn to use it professionally." She stayed silent for a long time, staring at the contract I laid out on the table. "Mom said that you hate me," she finally murmured. "No, I love you enough to stop you from self-destructing," I replied. "And I love this company enough to not let it sink." Sophie picked up the contract, said she needed to think it over, and left. That night, to my surprise, she posted a heartfelt video on her social media, talking about personal growth and the necessary changes. The next day, my dad showed up, looking proud despite his obvious exhaustion. "Your mom is still processing all this," he said, "but she'll get it. I already have." I looked out the window of my office, watching the hotel buzz with activity. Employees were working with more confidence, knowing that now there were clear, fair rules. The hotel occupancy was rising, driven by a more professional management. Nathan arrived with more reports, smiling as he saw my dad. In the midst of all the turmoil, something unexpected was blooming between us. Maybe sometimes things need to fall apart so that something better can be built. The following months were a time of intense transformation. Sophie surprised everyone by accepting the role of digital marketing director, diving headfirst into management and business strategy courses. Her first professional campaign delivered impressive results, boosting our occupancy rate by 30%. Mom started reaching out again when she saw the positive changes in Sophie. Over a reconciliation lunch, she admitted, "Seeing your sister actually working and growing, maybe I was too overprotective." The company was flourishing under the new management. We launched a professional development program for employees, modernized our facilities, and even expanded to 2 new locations. What was most rewarding was seeing the spark in the team's eyes, now that everyone had an equal chance to grow. Nathan and I grew even closer during this change period. Our long work meetings often turned into dinners where we discussed not only business strategies, but also our dreams and fears. He showed me that being strong doesn't mean being inflexible. One particularly hectic afternoon, Sophie burst into my office, waving her tablet. "I need to show you something," she said excitedly. It was a detailed presentation for a new project, a mentorship program for young digital entrepreneurs. "I realized I can use my experience to help others avoid the same mistakes," she explained, her eyes shining with a purpose I'd never seen before. Dad started spending more time mentoring both of us, sharing his experience in a more structured way. During one of those sessions, he confessed, "Together, you two are stronger than I ever imagined. Sophie has the creativity. You have the discipline. It's the perfect combination." The most surprising moment came when Mom organized a family dinner and announced that she was going back to college to study business administration. "If my daughters can reinvent themselves, I can too," she declared, making everyone laugh and get emotional. Nathan proposed to me during a board meeting, turning a presentation of results into an unforgettable moment. Sophie, of course, captured everything and turned it into viral content that brought even more positive visibility to the chain. Our story of business and family transformation started drawing attention. Sophie and I were invited to speak at corporate events, sharing how we turned a moment of crisis into an opportunity for growth. During one of those events, a young businesswoman asked me if I regretted being so hard during that birthday party. I looked over at Sophie, smiling in the front row, at Nathan holding my presentation, and at my parents, proud in the back of the auditorium. "Sometimes love means making tough decisions," I replied. "Real success isn't just in the numbers, it's in how we grow as people." The hotel chain is now known not only for its hospitality excellence, but also for its transparent management and strong family values. Sophie jokes that we're the perfect example of how to turn a reality show into a business success story. And she's right. Because in the end, it wasn't just about fixing a company. It was about fixing a family and discovering that sometimes the greatest gifts come disguised as challenges. 2 years have passed since that birthday party that changed everything. Today, sitting in my office with a view of our newest property, I reflect on how every tough decision brought us here. Sophie has become a respected executive, completely transforming our digital presence. Her latest initiative, a loyalty program integrated with personalized experiences, boosted our revenue by 45%. More importantly, she found true purpose in her work. "You know what's funny?" she told me during our last strategy meeting. "Before, I spent millions trying to look important. Now I earn less, but every cent has real meaning." My parents have also evolved in surprising ways. Mom graduated in business administration and now leads our corporate social responsibility program. Dad, finally free to focus on what he really loves, is developing new boutique hospitality concepts. Nathan and I got married in an intimate ceremony in the garden of our flagship hotel. Sophie organized everything, turning the event into a case study in organic marketing that went viral naturally. "See? We don't have to force anything anymore," she joked during her maid of honor speech. Our latest feat was especially significant. We opened a professional training center within the hotel. We offer free courses for young people interested in hospitality and management. It was an idea that Sophie and I developed in conversation, remembering how we started in this business. During the inauguration of the center, a young intern asked me what had been the toughest moment of this transformation. I paused for a moment before answering. The hardest part wasn't facing the family or implementing changes. It was accepting that sometimes we need to tear down old patterns to build something better. The company now runs with complete transparency. We implemented a governance system that has become a benchmark in the hospitality sector. Other family businesses come to us to understand how we manage to balance professionalism with family ties. Yesterday, during our monthly family meeting, Sophie presented numbers that exceeded all expectations. Mom, proud as ever, snapped photos for her Instagram. Yes, she's also gone digital now, but in a conscious and professional way. "Y'all turned my little hotel into something I never could have imagined," Dad said, emotional, not only bigger, but better in every way. Nathan, who is now our official CFO, smiled as he showed the annual report. The best part is that every number here represents a story of real growth. At the end of the day, Sophie and I went up to the hotel's penthouse. We reminisced about how it all started and laughed at the dramas that once seemed so huge. She snapped a selfie of us with the city in the background. "This one's for the personal archive," she said, putting her phone away. "Some stories don't need to be shared with the world." Looking at the horizon, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. The crisis that could have torn our family apart ended up making us stronger. We discovered that true luxury isn't about extravagant spending, but the satisfaction of building something meaningful together. And tomorrow, when I open the door to my office, I know I'll find not just a thriving company, but a family that learned to grow together, respecting boundaries and celebrating true achievements. This morning, as I walked down the hotel corridors, I stopped to look at an old photo on the wall. It was from the inauguration day, 30 years ago. Seeing my father's hopeful smile in that picture made me realize just how far our transformation went beyond just the numbers. Sophie now leads monthly workshops for young digital entrepreneurs, sharing not only her marketing techniques, but also her lessons on financial responsibility. "My biggest achievement," she told me recently, "is showing that we can be influential and still be genuine." Nathan revolutionized our financial management, creating a transparency model that other hotel chains have started to copy. At home, we've become partners not only in business, but in life. I'm expecting my first child next year. Mom, now graduated and more fulfilled than ever, overhauled our HR policies. Her employee development program has become a benchmark in the industry. Now, I understand why you always stressed professionalism, she admitted during our last lunch. Dad, though now more removed from day-to-day management, found a new passion, mentoring startups in the hospitality sector. His experience, combined with a fresh perspective on corporate governance, has helped several entrepreneurs avoid the mistakes that nearly cost us everything. Our story has even become a case study at a top business school. The professor in charge of the study highlighted how we managed to transform a family crisis into an opportunity for a business revival. Yesterday, during a board meeting, we presented the last quarter's results. The numbers were impressive, but what was most rewarding was seeing the spark in every family member's eyes. It wasn't about power or privilege anymore. It was about a shared purpose. Sophie joked that we should write a book, from family drama to business success, a survival guide. We laughed, but there was a deep truth there. Our journey proved that with courage, transparency, and the willingness to change, it's possible to turn even the toughest challenges into our biggest achievements. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this. Next month, we'll mark 3 years since that birthday party that changed our lives. To celebrate, we're organizing a special event that will bring together the entire team, from the executives to the cleaning staff. It's our way of showing that every single person was essential to this transformation. Sophie put together an amazing presentation, comparing old photos with current ones. I used to measure success in likes, she joked during rehearsals. Now I measure it in genuine smiles and lives touched. Nathan and I decided to use this occasion to announce the expansion of our professional training center. Soon, we'll be offering full scholarships for young people from underprivileged communities interested in hospitality. My parents, now the biggest advocates of corporate governance, joke that they needed a rebellious daughter to understand the true meaning of professional management. Mom even started a podcast about business transformation in family companies. Last night, alone in the office, I found Sophie's old corporate card in a drawer. Instead of feeling anger or resentment, I felt grateful. That crisis forced us to grow, to reinvent ourselves, and to discover strengths we never knew we had. Our story proves that sometimes you have to weather a storm to build something stronger. Today, we're not just a stronger company or a more united family. We are living proof that with courage, honesty, and the willingness to change, we can turn our biggest challenges into our greatest triumphs.